Are you ready? Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening for some people who have joined from other part of Southeast Asia as well. Thank you for joining. Today is the third edition in our Climate Smart webinar series. We're going to be discussing one of the successful innovation which is carried out in our healthcare system, which has proven to be energy efficient, less carbon intensive. At the same time, it has not hampered any way how quality healthcare has been delivered. Before we jump into our main speaker, just want to touch base on a couple of initiatives which we've been carrying out in India through our projects. So we'll just have a small presentation on that. So, like mentioned, today we are going to be looking at reducing healthcare carbon footprint, lessons in effective hospital waste management. It will be delivered by Mr. Venkatesan from the Aravind Eye Care Eye Hospital. Before that, we are hosting this webinar. We are running this initiative called the Health and Environment Leadership Platform. It is the Indian arm of the Global Green and Healthy Hospitals Network. When we launched the health platform in India, we wanted to start with a few objectives of its own while carrying out the objectives of the Global Green and Healthy Hospitals, just to bring leadership across health sector together to drive a unified messaging on policies on environmental health issues, and as well as build capacity of physicians and physician community, like we are doing today on a webinar on climate smart healthcare, something which has been happening within the health system. We want a community of physicians and the healthcare professionals to know about what's happening in the community on new innovations related to climate change, and bring all the institutions together through other campaigns and other initiatives of us to reduce our ecological footprint and promote better environmental health outcomes. So far, the health platform in India has 73 members, representing the interest of 7,700 plus hospitals and healthcare institutions, and many other medical associations and healthcare associations, which bring in over 50,000 healthcare professionals. As a parent initiative, which is the Global Green and Healthy Hospitals, they have about 43,000 plus members across the globe in 72 countries. They are functional in, as you can see, in the Northern America, Southern America, in Africa, in Asia, and they do have a Asia office as well, which is working on their different Southeast Asian countries and in the Pacific region. Uh, just to touch upon a few of the objectives what PGHS stands for, is to bring in quality leadership which can promote safe handling and safe use of chemicals, effective waste management, energy efficiency, water conservation, clean transport, clean eating, and safe procurement of pharmaceuticals, building and purchasing. We also have another initiative which is part of our organization, which is hosting, which is Public Health Foundation of India and Center for Chronic Disease Control, which is the Sustainable Health and Procurement Project. This project, like I mentioned in my previous slide, supports the purchasing part of the health sector. And the goal of this project is to reduce harm to people and the environment caused by manufacturing, disposals of medical products, and implementation of health program in developing countries. Uh, you will be hearing more about it in our future conversations and on future webinars. If you need more information, you can check out in our website. We'll be happy to share. Uh, Jumping back into the conversation on climate smart healthcare. So today we'll be discussing something on waste management, but if you want to know more about climate smart healthcare, you can look into this publication which is done by the World Bank, which talks about reducing healthcare carbon footprint, building climate resilience, improving access to healthcare, and promote sustainable development. If you are an organization or an hospital manager who's viewing the webinar right now, we also have another initiative called the Healthcare Climate Challenge. This climate challenge is membership and signing up is free of cost, and it will not be charged in the future as well. You simply have to make a pledge to report your energy use and your waste management use. Through this initiative, you will be able to model and look at the data of your organization on your facility and how effective your efficiencies and your effective management is on energy, waste, and other climate carbon footprints. And at the end of the year, you can also submit your data for global awards and recognition as well. The main three challenges of the pillars of this challenge is to build resilience within the health system, and to by building resilience, you're also mitigating the healthcare own carbon footprint. And through this process of creating efficiency in energy and waste management, you're educating the staff and the public of climate and health protocols and the promotion of policies to protect public health from climate change. Uh, with all that said, let's jump into our webinar right now. I want to give a small introduction to our speaker today, Mr. Venkatesan. He's a quality manager at Aravind Eye Care Hospital. For the past 10 years, he is in the portfolio of patient care and quality assurance. He has been certified in healthcare quality, and his area of interest are focused on enhancing patient care strategies in eye care and improving quality of care. He developed special interest on environmental sustainability initiatives in eye care delivery. Mr. Venkatesan is a member of Climate Action Working Group under International Agency of Prevention of Blind. He was selected for International High Health Hero of 2019 by the International Agency of Prevention of Blind. He received Best Environment Friendly Hospital Award for Aravind Eye Care from FICCI. He recently got a unique opportunity a couple of weeks back to interact with Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II through video conferencing for his work on quality and environmental initiatives on high volume care. And Aravind Eye Care hospitals have been uh, high up in quality in terms of sustainability and process of conserving energy and waste management. We'll be hearing from Mr. Venkatesan and from Aravind Eye Care a lot more in our webinar series. But without further ado, I would give the podium to Mr. Venkatesan. Yeah, sir, please start your presentation.
Thank you, Sriram. I'm just sharing my screen. Okay. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible. So thank you, Sriram. And good evening to all from Aravind Eye Hospital, Pondicherry. This is Venkatesan, the Quality Assurance Manager at Aravind Eye Hospital, Pondicherry. I really want to thank the health team for helping us healthcare managers or other hospitals focusing towards more environmental sustainability. Without wasting much time, I'd like to go into the topic of today is reducing healthcare's carbon footprints. So me working in an eye hospital, I have tried to make my presentation as comprehensive as possible and not only focusing on ophthalmology, so that it could benefit a lot of people. So before going directly into the topic, I'd just like to just brainstorm a few important topics that when we talk about environmental sustainability. One is Earth Overshoot Day. I don't know how many of we must be aware of the Earth Overshoot Day. So if I say in a simple term what Earth Overshoot Day is, like the day when we have consumed more resources where the Earth itself can regenerate those resources. So the Earth takes quite a time off to regenerate the resources, but we people, including me, consume the resources. So this year the Earth's Overshoot Day has fallen on August 22nd. So one thing is maybe this year has been a little better compared to last year, but we still don't know the reason. Maybe the COVID pandemic might be a reason, but this year also being a leap year, we have one more day. So this is an important concept that everybody should understand, that we are like we need 1.78, one more Earth to replace the resources that we consume. So then I'll just come to these sustainable development goals. So all of us will be aware of the sustainable development goals, but in this presentation I'll be focusing more towards good health, responsible consumption, and climate problem in that context. So when we talk about what is sustainable healthcare, so like everything, it can be financial sustainability, environmental sustainability, but when we say healthcare as a whole, we need to focus on three. We call it as the three P's: people, profit, and planet. So three peoples. So we need to intersect the benefit of all these three. So that is what where comprises the sustainable healthcare. So why do we need to talk about sustainable healthcare? So I've put a few pictures that I've got, to show you the impact. Even in India, the Kerala flood or the different climate change issues that is happening in the African countries are all related to the climate change. And when we see in healthcare, you can just see this picture. The healthcare impacts or the carbon footprints generated from the health sector is more than the flights leaving through the world's biggest airport. So that gives a clear picture upon how much of waste is being generated in the healthcare system. So yes, that is happening, but why should we healthcare professionals care about this? Because we are doing, we are taking care of the needs of the people, but why do we need to care of the environment? Because both these are interrelated. We take care, or we use a lot of resources when we treat people, but what happens to that? So the waste that we generate in treating a people is impacting on a person with a good health. So that is where Lancet comes up with a beautiful saying that healthcare is a problem, healthcare is a global change, but there is a big opportunity towards mitigating this climate change. So that is where WHO has also stepped in and it has come with a climate friendly a draft that can be very helpful to hospitals to work on environmental sustainability initiatives towards mitigating climate change. But though most of them are for new hospitals, but in this presentation I'll be mostly focusing on energy, a little bit of the transportation and the waste, mostly the waste part. Okay. So now I will again come back into my field, which is eye care. So eye care, as we know, is one of the largest, problem in terms of healthcare delivery, because we know that 2.2 million people are with visual impairment across the globe, and 26 million people need cataract surgery. So these numbers. So we're talking about these numbers, but what we are seeing is what is the impact of these numbers going to have in the environmental impact. And we see cataract surgery every year. Cataract surgery is going at a growth rate of 3.13%, because the aging population keeps on increasing. And when we talk about cataract surgery, 2/3 of the cataract surgery is mostly done phaco, which is the mostly performed surgery in eye care. So there is an article that was published sometime back in UK that calculates the carbon footprints of a cataract surgery. So most of the studies that I'm quoting here are all studies that have been done in the Western part, the Western world. So we don't have much of studies being done in the developing countries or in India. So this study shows, like, for one cataract surgery, the carbon emission is 180 kilograms. So we just put it into an easy calculation. So one cataract surgery is equal to driving a car 500 kilometers. So if you have a patient undergoing cataract surgery, so the emission that comes out is as from a car. Yes. Yeah. It's 180 kilometers. Easy. Sorry. Yeah. So then when we talk about, the carbon footprint, so where does this major carbon footprints come in this process of cataract surgery? So over 50% of the, the emissions or the carbon emission comes from procurement. Okay. That is mostly because of the, the single use supplies that we use for eye care. Okay. So when we just apply this scenario, we're going to see what is the impact that is going to have in our country. So in India, we have a problem of 200 million people needing eye care. Okay. So when we just apply this, this simple max of 180 carbon equivalents to the amount of eye care problem in India, we just imagine how much of waste or carbon footprints we are going to generate. Okay, so I come from an organization, which started from a 11 beds hospital, and now today it's one of the largest eye care providers in the world. So we see about 4.5 million outpatients a year. So that was the real eye opener for us, to see what is the carbon footprints that we generate in our, our volume or our settings. Okay, so I just try to apply, in my operational activities. So some of you must be aware of the lean concept that they use in the quality terms. So lean is, reducing waste. So waste is not only the waste that comes from, a product or something like that, but there are different types of waste that is being generated in a manufacturing unit. So, we can apply the same concepts into a healthcare industries. For example, for an easy understanding, they have made this 8 waste as downtime. I can just quote a few examples. For example, if we say about defects. So defect that happens in a manufacturing industries, but the same defect happens in a healthcare settings. I can just quote an example, like we have a patient safety error happening or a surgical complication that happens. So when a surgical complication happens, the amount of energy or resources that we consume is twice as more than the energy or the resources that is consumed for giving a normal care. Similarly, there are different examples, like overproductions. We as a healthcare system have a lot of process. We do a lot of process that really adds no value to the patient care. And waiting, we have a long waiting time. Once a patient waits or in the care cycle, we use a lot of energy or resources that is towards that. Okay, same way, transportation. So even I can talk about motion or transportation, everything, but more or less similar. For example, motion, like you have a lab situated in 5th floor of a building. So the staff uses multiple times to just use the lift to go to the 5th floor. So all this really adds indirectly to the carbon footprints. Okay, so I was talking something about the care cycle. So when we talk about care cycle, I've not talked about the primary or the preventive care. So I'm talking if a patient or is affected some health problems and requires an healthcare need. So this is how a care process happens. We need to create access, diagnosis, treatment, and follow. This is how a care cycle goes. And in every process of this care cycle, there's a huge amount of waste being generated in the form of transports or procurement, energy, and multiple complex type of waste that is being generated from the procurement. Okay, so I'll just share a few examples of how we have addressed all this in our settings. So but it can be generalized, but this is more towards eye care. So creating access, the first thing that Aravind does is it follows a non-appointment system. So how does some, like we may have a question, how does a non-appointment system really reduce the carbon footprint? So it's very simple. For example, if I am come for an eye checkup for my mother and I want to have my checkup and I've traveled 200 kilometers. Okay, so if we have a setting that we have to take an appointment, I can't have my eye check on the same day. So if I need to come for my eye checkup, I need to again travel 200 kilometers. Or if I have gone for a shopping, I can just directly walk into the system. So, a non-appointment system really creates the access and reduces the, the transport or the resources that is there. Then we have something called the primary, secondary, and tertiary care, different types of care settings. So I will a little bit talk more in detail about our primary care setups, because healthcare without harm also emphasizes on the importance of primary care that is very important to to mitigate climate change. Then we have an hub and spoke model, where we have teleconsultation and telemedicine, that really reduces the patient footprints into the hospital. Okay. So this is where I was talking about the primary eye care centers. So Aravind has about now today date it's about 80 centers, but I have a data of 79 centers. Okay. So through these centers, like every year we see about up to 7 lakh outpatients only through this primary eye care centers. And all these primary eye care centers are located in a place where it covers a population of 50,000, and people can directly walk into the primary care system. The travel, the cost for the patient, everything is actually reduced. So I can even quote an example that what we saw in this pandemic time. All our vision centers were able to see about 90% of the patients where big hospitals like us staying very far from access, we are still only able to function in seeing about 40% to 70% of our patient load. Okay, so this is what I was talking, the importance that healthcare without harm emphasis on primary healthcare facilities should look more towards sustainability. So I can also quote a example that we did in the vision centers. So about 80 to 90% of the eye care problem can be taken care in the primary care centers. Maybe like 10 to 15% of patients who need higher care or surgery are referred to the base hospital. So one again we do is a spectacle is delivered there. Patient just walk into the hospital, into the primary care centers, can get their eyes checked and get a pair of glasses. So what we used to have before is, we used to have a lot of frames in the primary care centers. We used to, select, the patient used to select a frame. They send it back through courier. Again, the staff has to travel in a two-wheeler, maybe about 5 kilometers to see the courier office, and they have to courier it. The courier is received here. Then the glass is fitted at the main hospital. Again, it's couriered back to the vision center. So we wanted to again look into this supply chain, to reduce the carbon impact, and also reduce the cost, and also the the turnaround time for a spectacle delivery. So what we did is, instead of having the frames, so we had all the frames, but we barcoded all the frames. So once a patient selects the frame, the barcoding number is immediately sent to the hospital through email. Okay, so the staff here immediately fits the glasses to the glasses with the power to the frame, and immediately sends it to the vision center. So what has happened is, like, the courier, one-day courier has really reduced, and the waiting time and the turnaround time has really increased. So what I really like to emphasize in this point is, so once we do an action to reduce the environmental impact, we can just see an outcome in terms of the cost and was the patient outcome or the patient satisfaction in that aspect. So then I'll come in the second part of the care cycle is diagnosis and advice. So again, at Aravind, we have a system, where we have standard operating procedures, where the entire system allows, a patient to have all possible tests done on the same day. So, even a specialty opinion, everything can be done on the same day. So how does this really have an impact on the climate change or the carbon footprints is? So there is effective utilization of the resources. It can be the human resource, it can be the equipment resource, or all resources. It's effectively utilized, and again, the multiple visits of the patient can be avoided through this process. Okay, so then next is the very important and a very important part in the carbon emissions. Our cataract surgery. So we have a very high volume cataract surgery that is shown in our volume, but always operation theater are the biggest, or we call them the heart of the hospitals, where huge amount of resource consumption happens, because the air conditions have to run, there are costly equipment that needs power, huge amount of consumables there, and the waste, most of the waste, about 60-70% of the hospital waste comes from the operating theater. And again, water consumption, now to strict sterilization protocols, we use RO water, reverse osmosis water, for all this process. So there's a huge amount of resource being utilized in the operation theater. Okay, so again, Aravind's strategy really helps to effectively utilize these operation theaters. Like we have a designed physical layout. Then we have done a task shifting, to increase the efficiency. We call it as the assembly line approach. Every person does the particular work to improve efficiency. And we have reduced waste, and we have maximized reuses. So I'll talk about a little bit more in how we reuse and reduce waste later. But whatever we do, we can't compromise on quality or safety. So that we have never compromised, even though we we reuse and recycle a lot of things. So this is a very important a picture that shows how productivity can really have an impact on the the utilization of resources. So this is an ophthalmic setup, so we can have an operation theater, but even though we don't have a two table system, or we don't have an operation theater setup, ways how you can improve the turnaround time for a surgery can really have an impact of the resources that we use. Okay, so here we can just see two scenarios. We have only one table, we will be able to only do one surgery, okay, per hour. So but if we see the fixed cost will be always the same. If you do one surgery or 6 surgeries, only the variable cost or the consumables will be slightly increased. So that is how Aravind has mastered this, and that is where this efficiency part has really helped us to reduce our carbon footprints. So this I've just showed you the surgical protocols before. So I'll just put a little bit more on the important part of how we reduce our operation theater waste and waste disposable. Like again, when we need to focus on our material flows or waste disposable, there are a lot of government regulations that we have to take into consideration. So we are sure that like we have adopted to the 2016 guidelines as like how the biomedical waste or other waste should be segregated. But what we have really done differently is even as WHO says, only like 10 to 15% of the waste that is being generated in the hospital are biomedical or harmful waste. The remaining 80% of waste are recyclable or reusable waste. So that is how we have brought in some systems to segregate the waste in a very efficient manner in the OR. So we make this by just increasing the number of, if you have seen in the video, increasing the number of bins, the waste bins that we have, can really help in segregating the waste at source. So if we have a good segregation at source, the handling of the waste becomes very easy. So again, we can just see in this picture, like again we use we don't use disposable gowns, we use washable aprons, gowns, and then the instruments we do flash autoclave at end, and other all biomedical waste goes into the the standard, the red color and the yellow color bins respectively. But again, the recyclable waste, so we have multiple bins, like the plastics, papers, or everything are being separated, made separately. So this is an old data, but we can just see the amount of waste that is being generated. I can just show you a picture like here. So this is a comparison of one phaco surgery in US and 50 phaco surgeries done at Aravind. You can just see the amount of waste that is being generated. Okay, so we of course US is not India, but we can just see the impact of how reduced waste can really have an impact on the carbon footprints. So by doing these efficient methods, I think this was a landmark article that was published that shows, as I had already told you, the cataract surgery in US, okay, is equal to driving a passenger car 500 kilometers, okay. But the same phaco surgery with the same quality that is being done at Aravind is riding the same car 25 kilometers. We can just see the impact in this part, like how we were able to reduce the impact of the carbon footprints. So if I just take this example, and we have something called in ophthalmology cataract surgical rate, like for 1 million population, how many cataract surgeries we do. So if Aravind or the entire India did phaco surgery, in the amount of waste that is being generated in UK or US, about 1.16 million tons of carbon equivalents would have been generated. Okay, so that would have been the amount of 250,000 passenger vehicles ridden for 1 year. So okay, so that would be the amount of waste that would have been generated if we would have done based on the waste that is being generated in US or UK. So we also did in this paper an interesting calculation. For example, if you would have done it in that way, we would require 30 million trees planted for and grown for 10 years to neutralize this effect that is being generated from the cataract surgery. Okay, so with this, I've just given an impact of how Aravind was able to reduce the carbon footprints or the amount of waste that is being generated. But I'll just a little bit go into details of the waste management process. So as we all know, waste management has a different has a process from generation, segregation, collection of waste, to storage, transportation, and disposable. So now I've been involved in this environmental initiatives at Aravind. I've been closely monitoring all these steps. Okay, so how I think these can be examples of how we were able to reduce the generation of waste. The first thing that we had a group discussion, and we started asking questions whether this is really required. Okay, we have to ask questions whether this is required or what will be the safety implications if this is not being done. I also have some good example. I also have some bad examples when I was talking about reducing the waste examples. I'm just showing you an image of eye drops being used for multiple patients. Okay, so in the Western countries, we have one single bottle used only for one patient. But to ensure safety, and we are also doing a study on that part to see the safety of using the multiple same vial to multiple patients. But we started marking the dates, like when was open, when was the medicine open, so that we have an accountability, like how many days the medicine can be used. Similarly, like other consumables in the OR, we don't ask the patients to buy particular consumable that is being used for the OR. We supply it from the centralized store that is available, so that allows to use a multiple injection to different people. So that is how we start asking questions. In staff education was very important, and doing audits. So audit was to see to just go into physically verify the stocks in the OR, and we have a protocol that like every day whatever the consumable that is being got from the stores, it has to be returned back to the store. So like the OR should not have any inventory hold back. Okay, then I started using comparison data to see like how many patients we have treated and how much of resources we have used. So that is something called costing for cost per patient, like what was the cost involved in the consumables that is being used. Okay, so then responsible purchasing, I think there is a lot that goes into the purchasing, sustainable procurement, that like what Sriram was saying, that itself is a big talk that we can have in the future. But okay, and there is something called the life cycle, which I will not go much into it. Then the other normally missed people whom we really don't address is the patients. So that is where again at Aravind, when I started all this initiative, we started involving patients, like why we are not allowing food packets in, why we are not allowing water bottles, why we are not so all this, like we started showing around the hospitals to our patients, like these are the environmental initiatives that we have. Okay, so next, reuse and recycle. Again, reuse in clinical, again, it's a very like walking on the blade. Always the first question they put, what will be the safety and what will be the quality. So whenever we talk about reuse in the clinical aspect of Aravind, it's always been evidence based. It might be research evidence or clinical evidence that we have looked into it. Then we have something called the rethink. So I would just share Aravind's frugal things that we use to effectively use the resources to reduce waste. I can share this bedsheet story that we normally tell to our staff. So when a bedsheet is very new, we use it for a patient. So if there is any stain in one part or the other little bit, patients are not comfortable with it. So what we do is we cut it and use it as a inner pillow cover. Okay, so that can that increases the longevity of that that particular linen. So if that is again damaged, then we use as a duster cloth. So even now when I go to some hospital, I see them getting a lot of cloths just to wipe their tables and things like that. But this is how how frugality or talking to our staff can really improve. And one very strong thing that Aravind is really focused on is the instruments and the maintenance team that we have. We have an in-house team. So we really understood the importance of these instruments teams. I have been, visits to a lot of hospitals, even in India and across, into African countries, where we see a lot, even in, we can see them in the government hospitals. We have very costly equipments, lying in every corner of the hospitals. And when we just see the reasons why those are not being used, if we see an equipment, but the shipping cost, the thing, and all the consumable cost that has gone into that life cycle of that equipment would be very huge, but it will be not utilized. When we just see a simple reason, there will be no instrument technician. Okay, so I can just quote examples, like me being at Aravind. So we even use the stick lamps, which is the commonly used equipments, even for 10 years, even our operating, that goes, the increases the life, by when we have an effective preventive maintenance. Okay. So again, the housekeeping team, I'll just like to say, our housekeeping team is involved in rethinking the ideas. I can just show you an example like this. If you can just see this, because, our are having a problem with, sitting in the street time, where are not able to put their, the pen or the specs they wear. So they wanted some cupboard. So we just used the cassette box, that goes into our waste, has a stand that they can just, use for as a storage part. So, okay, this is again what I've been talking about. Reduce, I just go very detailed, like evidence based. Though we have been reusing our consumables or the OT surgical instruments, we have published evidence that our endophthalmitis or infection rate has been on the lower side. Okay, so this is, I already been talking to you. So rethink of ideas that we can really use into the system, give a new life to that particular product. So collection against storage. So most of the hospitals might have a problem, like so I told you, like segregation is a very important part, and once we have done a very good segregations, we have a dedicated place to store our separately, the biomedical waste separately, and as well as the non-infectious waste. So when we have a good, storage areas, the plastics, the papers, the batteries, everything goes into separate areas, like you can see, I don't know if we are able to see it. Even we have labeled, like what should go where, the plastic bottle where it should go. So, this really helps, when even it gives a good income to a hospital. When a scrap vendor comes, he has different things. I can just there are different examples that I can really quote. There are some bottles with the aluminum coil around the bottles. If you just give it the bottles alone, the cost is very less. But if you have separated the aluminum and the bottle separately, you can really generate an income that is even sufficient to pay a salary for that particular person who is doing that. But for this, we need to have this segregation at base source as a good system. Okay. So again, then the last thing is, once we have done with all the waste, what happens to the waste? So we have been following a lot of waste that goes into our scrap vendors. I have personally gone to a lot of companies to see what happens with the waste that goes from the hospitals. So that is where I came to know, like, all the local plastics, that, our children's use, or that we buy mostly in South India, when we have festivals, we have a lot of plastic, play toys. So most of these toys are made from these plastic pellets, that comes out. So there are, like, even in our own systems, we use a lot of virgin plastics, that can be recycled and reused. So we have effective systems, we can really use those examples. Okay, so a little bit touch about sustainable procurement, because without sustainable procurement we can't talk really about the waste management. So I came across this interesting picture that you see, and but I don't have it for Indian, but for every American born, 3.0 million pounds of resources is being used in the lifetime. So so I'm born to consume. So that is the concept that I get. So, but when we talk about sustainable procurement, can I really reduce the amount of things that I consume? So that is where we will really very openly talking about sustainable procurement. So can we really be consume responsibly? So whenever asked, can we really consume responsibly, the official answer will be yes. Just quoting an example of a picture, that you just see an aeroplane. So whenever we talk about environmental or carbon footprints, we only talk about the travel or the emission, the fuel emission that an airport, the plane, gives, So whenever you get your tickets printed, they will show you maybe your travel is this much of carbon emission. But what is hidden is behind what are the other things that we consume in this process. There has been a lot of changes happening in the flight industries. So the reason I take flight industries because I'm being a quality manager. We always talk about the the flight industries for safety. So I also took this example for our environmental sustainability. So what we see as opportunities to really reduce the carbon footprints or the procurement waste is very little, the tip of the, what we call the tip of the iceberg. But there are a lot of unseen opportunities that are behind in the form of supply chain management. Okay. So when we talk about sustainable procurement at Aravind, so majority of our supplies are from our own manufacturing unit, which we have as Oro Lab. About 80% of our consumables are from Oro Lab. Okay. So then what we have done for sustainable procurement is, again, for other companies, we have to identify local purchases. Then we have a material management software that really tracks the usage of the consumables in every part, and the new suppliers, like we immediately do not take any supplier into the system. The process takes a very long period. Then, as I already told you about the audit per cost that we do. Okay. Then a recent thing that we started was returning our packaging material. So I think this I would like to again emphasize to health platform. I think Purnima madam is also there. A lot of packing materials, the cardboard boxes, and the most important thing is the thermocol boxes. In healthcare we use the thermocol boxes. We don't have any replacement now, to transport the cold chain things. But a lot of companies are not ready to get the packaging materials back. They want to send it in an always a new pouch. So what we have discussed with our manufacturing unit to send our cardboard boxes or the thermocol boxes that they can reuse to send the materials back into our system. Okay. So all through all these initiatives, now we can just see, this is again a published study, the cost for a cataract surgery at Aravind is less than $20. But we can just see different hospitals, across US to African countries, South Africa, there's also a hospital from South Africa, the different cost aspect that is being involved per phaco surgery. So the point that I would like to make is, whenever there is a cost increase, that means the carbon footprint increase is very high. Okay. Okay. So that is most about the hospital waste. I'll just touch a little bit of the other waste. Mostly the other waste that we really look into the energy waste. Okay. So I would like to let's go a little bit fast in this. So we have now identified that the normal fans are not, though they might be very less cost, but they're not very cost effective and not environmental friendly. So whenever we our old fans get into a problem, we replace them with the energy efficient fans. Okay. So we have a solar plant that is being installed, and most of our areas are LED lights. But again, all these can only contribute to a less percent. But if you have a staff awareness, if you focus on the staff awareness to switch off the light or switch off the air conditioner when not in use, so all these are really adding value to this part. Okay, so we are really now looking into like what is our impact of our solar energy, how much of carbon emissions that we are able to reduce. Okay. Again, then we are also looking into water management. So reducing waste water. So waterless urinals we have installed, and we are also having rainwater harvesting, and we have Asia's biggest wastewater treatment plant. So I will not go much into detail, but if you want to, I can give you a detail on later. So then again, I can give you a little quote simple examples. I think these are like frugal ideas that can really reduce your water management. So most of us will be just focusing on the pipes or the water leakages, things like that. But we will not look into the the flow rate of the tap, the taps in the kitchens, like they run the entire day. In what is the flow rate of water that comes out of that pipes? So there are technology that has come to reduce the water per minute. So those are ideas that we are really looking at. We have implemented a few ideas of those into our system. Okay, so even again, I really like this one, the flush tank, the urinals, that we use, the flush tank is about 5 liters of water goes into every flush. So we also tried new ideas of just putting filled water bottles into the flush tanks to reduce the water. So these are all frugal ideas that can really have an impact on the carbon footprints. Okay, so finally, health system is a very complex systems. It's not only the health system alone can take care of reducing or going towards a climate smart healthcare delivery. It's, like a lot of people there are into the healthcare system, that really have to come in as a group, to address these issues. Okay, so we are taking this forward, as Shira mentioned, we have been actively working with the international agency for, to develop sustainable ideas for eye care organizations, and our team is being involved in a lot of publications. Okay, with the Western countries in comparing the waste and giving to them. So this is an article that I was involved in. Okay, so I think so that is a few things that I've been covering in the waste management. So I just like to conclude with just my one thing. So waste management or climate friendly does not need to be a single thing. When we just focus on patient care ideas or improving our patient care, so that will directly impact on the cost as well as the environmental impact. Yeah. So thank you. So I just conclude my session with this. So this is what I am working towards. Do no harm to the patient. Do no harm to the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatesan. That was a really informative presentation. So before we open it up for the question and answers, I just want to invite Dr. Purnima Prabhakaran, the Deputy Head of Center for Environmental Health at Public Health Foundation of India. She is the point person for Center for Excellence of Green and Climate Resilient Healthcare under the National Action Plan for Climate Change and Human Health. So, Dr. Purnima, would you like to share a couple of your experiences on working on climate smart healthcare?
Thank you, Sriram. And I think, first of all, thank you to Mr. Venkatesan from Aravind Eye Care Pondicherry. I think Aravind Eye Care Pondicherry is a stellar example of climate smart healthcare. And I think one of our shining front runners in our network. We've just heard his presentation, and yet again, always leaves us spellbound in terms of, the serious efforts that they have taken to deliver healthcare with patient-centric as well as environment-centric initiatives. So we've heard a lot about the way they have run their services, whether it's waste management, which was the theme of this webinar, but you also heard about how resource efficiency is carried out at Aravind Eye Care, whether it's the water, the energy, and I think those are the different pillars of sustainable healthcare delivery. And there's lots of lessons to be learned, and we are proud of having them as a member of Health Network in India. And we just hope that the examples set by this eye care hospital can be replicated and scaled up in healthcare facilities across the country. And that is our endeavor through not just the Health and Environment Leadership Platform, where we have, last year actually started talking about the concept of climate smart healthcare, which is both about resilience as well as mitigation of, the carbon footprint of the facilities. We are privileged to be the Center of Excellence, as Sriram mentioned, recognized by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare to advocate a framework, develop a framework for climate smart healthcare across public healthcare system in India. And we will certainly take lessons from Aravind Eye Care in developing that framework. So thank you, Mr. Venkatesan, again. We look to you to guide other partners in the network. And we certainly hope to welcome you back in our webinar series in the future as well. We are working with the national program, as we mentioned, but we are hoping to bring learnings from across our network. And in our coming webinars, we'll be bringing more examples from different members in the network, just as we've done today. So thank you, Mr. Venkatesan, for taking the time to share all your excellent initiatives today on our platform.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Yeah.
Back to you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Purnima. We have a couple of questions from the audience. Ishika has asked Mr. Venkatesan that do you conduct training on importance of sustainable healthcare at hospital?
Sorry, Shriram, can you just repeat the question again?
So, Ms. Ishika Jaria, she has asked, do you conduct trainings on importance of sustainable healthcare at hospitals?
I think we do a lot of trainings in terms of to our staffs, mostly the operation theater staffs in different areas in the waste management. So that is where we really had a session planned only for eye care delivery. One of it, first of its kind of a conference that we held. Sustainable eye care delivery. So where we as Dr. Purnima was talking about, we also took this initiative to do other eye care providers, but for our own staff, it's more focused, towards waste management or electricity management. So that is how we really train them, not really into the sustainable or the environmental impacts, but towards their areas of interest or focus.
Okay, thank you for that. And there's also a very simple question from Mr. Rajav Chore. He has asked, do you have rainwater harvesting in hospitals, in your hospital?
I was just typing to his question. Yes, Mr. Rajiv. We have a very big facilities, like it's a very big hospital for eye care. It's about 4,000 square feet, big building. So we have solar panels as well as rainwater harvesting systems. Sir, so to again, rainwater harvesting, we don't use the rainwater, but we are only refilling the groundwater level. So we are not reusing it for any other purposes. We are just recharging the groundwater.
Thank you. There's also a question from Dr. Shamla Mani. Are you able to see it or should I read it out?
Yeah. So I can see it. Yeah. Have you been able to do a cost effectiveness of your waste management? For instance, if you have made it happen in a part-time stream worth it. So actually that is the biggest question that is going around our minds now. We really don't have a paper published like our other carbon footprints on the cost effectiveness, but we are working on that part. So we are trying to see the cost effectiveness of doing these environmental sustainability initiatives at different parts. So to answer your question, we don't really have an established paper on that part.
Okay. There's also a question we have from our team. So we've been working with a lot of other organizations and we've been trying to educate them about the various new ways of conserving energy and proper waste management. It usually comes down to finance. So management usually says it's more expensive, but in your presentation, you mentioned that it is not. So if an organization is mentioning that it's financially not viable for them, how do you convince the facility to be more efficient?
That is a very relevant question to me, because I've been putting that socks when I go into the management, So whenever we go into the management and ask a question that I want to install a solar plant, the cost is this much. It's very difficult, for organizations or the management to give a directly yes. So that is where, I started my activities in smaller things. That is what I call as the frugal ideas. So frugal ideas, I was able to demonstrate a change. So, okay. So once the organization sees a financial, even it can be a small financial, gain or a profit, or, that happens from the organization part. So that really facilitates the change towards a bigger part. So I can again quote you an example that this is not about Pondicherry, but again, Aravind Hospital at Madurai. We wanted to change the what I call the fan, the normal non-energy efficient fans. So again, we had a big debate going on. So that is where, like the calculation like that, what we made, and we had external partners, who came and gave us the demonstration to the management that really helped us. So we did not at one particular time remove all our fans and go for that. So it went all a step-by-step process. So my advice would be, we have to start from a smaller thing, work on water saving or work on energy saving. And if we are able to show a profit or an economical thing, financial saving for an organization that will really impact the work.
Okay, thank you. That's a very good answer for the question. So we have a couple more questions from the audience. Mr. Ram from Apollo Hospitals, Chennai has asked about CHG emission estimate and reduction measures in hospital brief on this.
So yeah, I'm just on the process of calculating our CGHS emissions. I think I just really recently I saw an article. I think Mr. Ram is from Bhaskaran. I think is from Apollo Hospital. I just saw an article that was from Apollo Hospital that they showed that how much of I think carbon emission they have reduced. But again at Aravind, I don't have an established or data driven thing that what our CGHS emission now is at this point of time. But now we are going at a step-by-step process. Now I think I've taken energy as the main process where, because there is a lot of cost and carbon emission going into that part. So maybe in the next month, I'm getting a report on what that emission is. So we are only going by like different areas, not as a whole. We don't have any data.
Okay, thank you. And there's a last question, like what do you suggest for waste management and control?
Yeah, so again, waste management, I think when I just stepped into it, I thought it's like other things, why do I spend a lot of time in waste management? But when I just went very close into or very detailed into it, that is where I understood, there is a huge impact on that. It can be financial saving. I'm not shown you a slide on the financial savings that I've been able to generate in terms of reselling the waste. So that was able to to give a salary for 5 of our housekeeping staffs. It generated more income. Okay, and so what my learning was, if I ask a person to touch the hospital waste, again it's a safety related issue. So that is where we really focused on the segregation part. So the segregation at source is a key area that you have to focus if you want to have an effective waste management. So that can be a small step by increasing, your smaller buckets, or just facilitate what your staff wants. Like I said, like tearing the plastic separately and the paper separately, our staff did not really accept that. It took a lot of brainstorming into their, their head to show that that is really impactful. So I would suggest to start with waste segregation, not about total waste management.
Thank you. That's a very good answer. I'm sure waste segregation is the first step to proper waste management. And we have a last question. We are running out of time. So it's from Tanya Prakash. So she has asked, do you conduct sustainability reporting of the hospital?
Do you conduct a sustainable reporting of your hospital? So right now, we are not doing any in terms of audit on sustainability. So we are just now, as I told you, we are doing a lot of studies on that part. So that is where we are really looking forward and developing a checklist along with our, the climate action working group on auditing what are the sustainable initiatives that has to be taken in the hospital. So that has come into a draft. So that I have been a part of that, but that is not really into picture now, but I think in the coming months that will be really coming out. So that is only for eye hospital that we have developed, but that can be used for other hospitals.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatesan. And you rightly mentioned that you did not go into the financial savings of the energy efficiency or the waste management process. Maybe we can definitely revisit that in our future webinars on the financial advantage of moving towards a climate smart healthcare. So we have come to our end of an hour. Thank you, Mr. Venkatesan. Thank you, Dr. Purnima Prabhakaran, and thank you for all the attendees who took time into listening into our conversation on climate smart healthcare. Mr. Venkatesan, before we sign off, do you have any last few words to share?
I really want to thank HELP. I think I've also been part of listening to a lot of webinars. It's really a very important aspect that we really have to take forward. And hats off to you. And I've also met you, Dr. Purnima, personally. So I think you're doing a fantastic job, in interacting with both, the providers as well as the government. So, so I just, want the work to go forward, and I'll be happy to be part in whatever means is required.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatesan. Thank you for taking time in your busy schedule. Dr. Purnima Prabhakaran, do you have any last word of time?
No, thank you, Sriram. Just to again reiterate our thanks to Mr. Venkatesan and Arvind Eye Care for always being a very enthusiastic member of our network and doing such exemplary work. More power to you, and thank you for your support as well to our platform.
Thank you, Dr. Purnima. Thank you to both the speakers, and thank you to all the attendees, and thank you to all my teammates Ishika, Mazrur, Sanya, and Ananya for helping us put this webinar series together. All the attendees and registrars, you can hear from us soon on the presentation and on the webinar recording, and watch out for the space and follow us on social media. We'll be posting about our next webinar soon. Thank you everyone, and have a nice evening. Bye.